us way back? Do you think that is a big piece in this puzzle here?
Yes, I think that sums it up pretty well. I think a lot of modern religions are based on sort of the ways of thinking of the older religions, and they're effectively reborn out of them. Christianity is a very good example of a cult that was built around the idea of a dying and rising God, which is in actual fact a rather pagan idea, really.
Mm.
And it was one of a number of cults at the time that were sort of all thrown up around about the same idea, and Christianity somehow managed to become in the forefront of that. And a lot of people have drawn parallels between, say, the sort of birth and death of Christ and all the mythology that is worked around that, and very ancient Egyptian sources to do with the story of Osiris and the stellar deities of the ancient Egyptians. And by ancient Egyptians, we really mean ancient. We mean going right back to the beginning of the Egyptian dynasties.
Mm.
And Osiris is it's fascinating in his own right, because, of course, the stellar deities of the sort of polytheistic deities of the early Egyptians, the dying and rising gods, were to do with the stars. So it creates this connection between the idea of a sort of return of a king, or the dying and rising God, and the resurrection and the rebirth, being connected quite dramatically with stars and what's going on in the sky.
Mm.
And some years ago, of course, Mr. Beauval was quite controversial through his idea that the pyramids, the structure of the pyramids at Giza, the way they were aligned, was a direct correlation with the constellation of Orion.
Mm-hmm.
And he was arguing that this was quite on purpose, that the Egyptians who built the pyramids were effectively trying to recreate on the surface of the planet the positions of very key stars in the sky to do with their gods.
Mm.
And where we were talking about the sort of red Sirius and the reappearance of, potentially reappearance of a red star near the star Sirius, well, that's in that same sort of neck of the woods. It's near Orion, and there could potentially be a connection between all of these things,
mm-hmm.
where you could argue that the Egyptians were thoroughly aware of all of this. It was part of their very secret religious traditions, and that their building of the pyramids and that their setting out of the pyramids with the stars was a way of highlighting the point where this chief god star, Horus or what have you, would be reborn and appear in the sky. And from that, you could just see everything else flowing out of it. If you that could be the starting point of a lot of the European religions that we have today, or the Alchemy and the Rosicrucians and the Freemasonic traditions, and even aspects of the sort of the Bible as well, eventually out of that. And a lot of that information that comes to us through those traditions could have originated from this sort of very ancient idea of a star religion, where the red star, the king, is reborn amongst those very important constellations and stars. So, yes, I think that's a very important point to make, and I think that it really ties everything together. Alchemy is traditionally and came from the Arabs, and that would have stemmed potentially from ancient Egypt, as all things did way back when.
Yeah.
And I can just see how everything sort of filters through, despite generations of persecution and secrecy. That information comes to us slightly Chinese whispered, but nevertheless ends up coming to us in a symbolic form that reflects ancient wisdom.
That's right. By the way, I just want to run this by you here. Have you heard about the Hopi legend of something called the Blue Kashina?
I've come across a few Hopi legends, and the North American traditions. There are quite a few references in there again to sort of this sort of aspect. So anyway, what's this particular one about then?
Well, this basically was about the also about the heralding, I guess, of a new age, basically, when this star, we're going to or is going to appear on the sky. This will indicate that the current age is ending and a new one will begin, basically. And it's just one of these things that stuck in my mind the first time I heard it I saw it on a documentary, I think, on TV. So again, this is something kind of the question is, of course, with all of these things, with myths and prophecies and so forth, the question is if were this something that we have to see with our own eyes, or is this something, because now we have the technology to see a lot of these things with telescopes and looking out into space, and who knows, when speaking about a prophecy, in what manner of, how the humanity actually spots one of these, because I'm tying this back again to a news story that was released from the BBC, again from the BBC, 15th August, I think, who had run this article called "Colossal Trails Dying Star." This was basically a giant, I think it was a dying star that left a huge trail after it, basically, and to me, kind of in a way that resembled the idea of the blue Kachina in a way, but I don't know. That's basically what I had there.
What's absolutely beautiful about that particular photograph, although it was taken in ultraviolet, it really encapsulates. You've got a red giant star that's sort of dying, and it's shedding its matter behind it, and it's creating this sort of red comet effect. And the red comet is very significant. I mean, Velikovsky writes about red comets a lot within the sort of the bounds of mythology, and comets, as we see them in the sky, are white. They appear white. So for a red comet to appear, it's really quite a significant